Hey, what's going on, my friends? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor, and I help people navigate through their spiritual awakening process. And today I'm going to share with you an energy update for the entire month of October. I'm going to be sharing about the things you might be processing, releasing, healing. I'll share with you some of the opportunities. Whenever there's healing, there's always an opportunity for something new to give birth to, in a sense, something that's more authentic and more aligned with your deeper truth. And also I'll share with you a couple of tips and some general advice that you can take it for what it's worth, but it might help you, ride through these waves, these ascension waves we're feeling right now, and in a way where you can maintain as best you can your balance and, again, get all the benefits. Number one, you might be noticing themes of death and rebirth. This doesn't mean anyone's going to die. Don't take it like that. It could be anything. It could be the ending of a phase, ending of a chapter, ending of a phase of your career, of your life, or maybe ending of a phase or ending of a relationship. But the main theme here is there's feelings involved that I'm mostly trying to pinpoint. Grieving, sadness, sometimes depression, sometimes crying for no obvious reason. You just feel like it, like there's this trapped energy you just need to release, like you're letting go of something and you might not even know what it is. Sometimes what we let go of is something that's not even good. Maybe you're letting go of your ancestral programming, for example. And even though it's like, good, get that out of me, thank you, universe, it's still like, in some strange way, it's been a part of you for a long time. So there's this feeling of separation from something that's been with you a long time. And again, this can be just emotional for folks. It can also be, you might be dealing with this in your life as well with a job or a relationship or something. As an example, I dealt with this with my son Lucas recently. He turned 10 years old, and I'm a father of three. I have a 14-year-old, a 10-year-old, and almost an 8-year-old. And there's a chapter in my life when all three of them were kind of young, and they all were like daddy's little sidekicks. They couldn't wait for me to be done with work to play with them, and they were just really just innocent, and you know how it is. And then kids get older. And anyway, the other day my son had his 10th birthday, and I just had a dream about it. I had a dream. I do this sometimes where I like grieve in my dreams, and I was crying in my dreams about him being like a little baby, and then all of a sudden realizing, oh, he's not a baby anymore. And I woke up with this cloud of sadness around me, and I went to go and get into work, and I couldn't even work. I literally had to sit right over there and cry. I had just sobbed uncontrollably. I was looking at old pictures, and it was like this whole thing, but I was just so sad. As a father, you can feel there's like your children, especially when they're young, are like they're an extension of you. They're an extension of your heart. And it's natural and healthy, I realize, for them to get older and move on and come into their own identity and establish their autonomy. And I support it. I don't try to cling to them as best I can. But it hurt. Anyway, death. That's an example of death. But don't forget the other part, rebirth. That's always connected to this grieving energy. And what happened that very day is I took my son to a Guns N' Roses concert. It was his first rock concert, and he absolutely loved it. We had the best time. I could tell he's going to be like my new rockin' buddy, and I can foresee us going to concerts until I'm old and gray. And it was this introduction to this beautiful, new, but different, but very awesome chapter of my life. So I recommend you folks, if you're feeling this, what I've learned about grieving, take it for what it's worth, is to just like let it happen, not resist it, not make it into a problem. And yes, the feelings kind of come up sometimes randomly and like unexpected times, but I feel like that's when your body is like ripe for releasing it. And as best you can, if you're able to, go off and cry, go off and let it out, let those tears flow. You'll feel a lot better, and then you can kind of close that chapter and then see what else is in store. And I guarantee it's going to be something awesome. That's how life works. Number two is going to sound a little bit strange, but maybe not to you folks. Channeling and longing to go deep. You might start to, I don't know how to put it, like feel called to channel. I'm not saying the Arcturians are asking to come through you and you're going to write a book about what they have to say. Maybe. I'm talking about channeling. Channeling can be anything. It's where you let go And there's this mysterious but tangible creative energy that flows out of you and comes into form. And it's the best thing, it's the best feeling. I feel it sometimes when I'm making these videos, a lot of times when I'm writing, especially when I'm coaching. I've luckily found things in my life where I get to experience this sort of channeling effect. And the beauty about channeling is sometimes, here's kind of the kicker, a lot of you folks I would predict feel inspired to do something that you don't feel equipped to do. You don't feel experienced enough. You got boxes you've yet to check off, and it just doesn't feel like time because you're only looking at your mind. You're only looking at your life from a very human, linear perspective. And then you can logically conclude, I don't have the experience to do this thing. I've never talked to the Arcturians. What am I going to do? And yet, there's a depth of you. That's what I meant going deep. There's a part of you that does know how to do these things. There's a part of you that has probably lifetimes of experience. And regardless, if you can just sort of give yourself the chance and let go as best you can, you might be surprised at what comes out of you. Whether that's in a painting, whether that's in a book, whether you're giving birth to a child and just feel like you want to be this amazing mother or father. It could be anything. It could even be in casual conversations in your daily life. Maybe you feel inspired to go up to people and share something with them. It reminds me of Teresa Caputo from that show, The Long Island Medium. She's a medium, like a really good one, at least it seems like that on the TV show. And she'll sometimes be in like a grocery store and she'll start like doing this with her lips. That's how you know she feels this urge, like she's gotta say something. And she always feels kind of awkward about it. She'll go up to the stranger usually and be like, this is gonna sound weird, but I'm a medium and your grandfather's here. And he wants you to know that he thinks you're doing a great job taking care of his roses. And then the person would just, they melt and they cry. It's like this beautiful, touching thing. I love it, personally. I think it's so beautiful. But anyway, she feels awkward. Who is she? Is she mistaken? She could very easily get in her head and say, this is crazy. They're not going to want to hear from me. They're going to think I'm nuts. They're not going to receive it. Am I deluding myself? But she just friggin' does it. So what I'm telling you, just friggin' do it. It feels so good. And there's an opportunity to channel. There's an opportunity this month to really find what you came to do, what you came to express. It might be not what you thought. It might be very different than what your parents would have wanted for you, but it's something your soul is asking you to do. And I recommend you do it. And it's going to give you not only this it'll probably be helpful to other people, quite honestly, but it'll also give you this depth of human life. There's a richness to the life experience that is enhanced drastically when you start to be able to do this within your day. I feel so blessed that I have these outlets in my life where I get to tap into what feels like my best self. All throughout the week I do it. And whenever I'm doing it, I'm lost in the moment. All I do is I feel this it's really enjoyable, rewarding, fulfilling, soulful frequency, this channeling state. So I recommend if any of this resonates that the main barrier is lack of courage. And courage, luckily, is just a matter of choosing to use it. You don't need more. It's just choosing to be courageous and then seeing what happens. Number 3 is more of a hint to help you identify where you're meant to channel, and that is this: authenticity is key. Today I was brainstorming, as an example, about different YouTube videos I can make. And once in a while, I'll go and I'll research these ideas I have. And what I was finding is what I was writing down were all these old formats for videos that were really cool to me anyway, years ago. And all of a sudden, everyone's doing it, man. They're so overabundant. And what I chose to do, I realized I was getting, in researching, I was becoming disconnected from my own authenticity. And I was realizing my creative inspirations were starting to kind of be distorted by too much information, too much looking outside of myself for what's going on with other people. And I realized you know what, all of not only my best performing videos, but the ones that felt the best and most fun were ones that literally came to me out of the blue. They were never a calculated idea drawn from learning and researching. It's always been just boom, there it is, do it. So I stopped doing what I was doing and I went back to my little notepad on my computer and just started really trying to identify what is me, what is real, what is authentic. And you might be finding yourself wondering about that. And it can be kind of a tricky, elusive thing sometimes, because you might find that your entire life has been lived inauthentically to an extent. That's a hard thing to swallow. Like, I've been thinking, I thought this was me. I thought this is what I was passionate about. And maybe it was at some point on some level, but there are depths to this. There's depths to your purpose, very much like peeling the layers of an onion. And this is a month where you get to peel maybe a few layers and get to a real deep part of it. But it might take some experimentation. It might take some soul searching. It might take some alone time. It might require you to really tune out and declutter your mind from all of the input. All of us are just bombarded with so much input. 95% of it is completely useless. It's like a soap opera input we're putting into our minds constantly, whether we want to or not, just through our phone, especially if you're on social media. And you might be realizing that it's taking a toll on you. Maybe you're realizing it is disconnecting you from, like, you don't even know who you are. Who are you underneath the busyness of your mind? I've been going through this myself. I've been really setting some firm boundaries with my computers, with my phone, even TV, and doing a lot more meditation and alone time, because I found myself feeling just so reactive, impulsive, disconnected, depressed almost. And it was a call to ground back into me, Victor's authenticity. And I'm finding that all these distractions, all this, like, these racy thoughts that I was having anyway, I chose to use them as like an incentive to really go deeper with my own spirituality. And in doing so, I'm having more success finding my authenticity, finding the areas of my life to channel, experiencing just more richness again in each and every moment, because I'm more grounded in myself. So if you're having a tough time finding what is you, where are you to go in this new chapter of your life that you're now giving birth to, you might find the answers within yourself, but it might take some time to quiet everything to where you can really hear the subtle whispers of your intuition. With that said, I'm going to say one more thing. It's going to seem a little bit out there. It like winked at me. Like I had a note earlier on, and I wasn't going to talk about it because I like to have my energy updates kind of flow, into this like almost a progression. This is going to be kind of like a monkey wrench, a wrench into the machine. And I want to just real quickly talk about ancestral trauma. Sometimes it's not that uncommon, and yet very bizarre when it happens, that you start to process emotions and unexpressed emotions from your ancestors. And it could be like your in the very distant past. It could be your own past lives. It can be your grandparents. For example, I've been having dreams with my grandpa in it. And I had this epiphany actually this morning in the cold plunge, where I realized the reason I get so sad about my kids getting older is because my grandfather lost his son to cystic fibrosis at 10 years old. And then I just had this strong feeling that he never really quite dealt with it. I know later in life he was doing a lot of drinking and things like that. And I have a feeling that like there's a part of my DNA that associates any loss whatsoever as this really intense. It's almost like I'm processing his emotion that he never did through my own body, using my own much more mild life circumstances. So you might have little things going on in your life that are like kind of like maybe a little bit of a big deal on paper, but your emotions are just so over the top, and it feels so real. Especially fear. There's a lot of ancestral fear that some people come up, and that can be really wild when it's like there's no jaguars chasing me to really justify this intensity of fear. And I'm just saying this in case you're going through it, and what I've learned about it is really there's not much you can do about it. I believe it's kind of a nice thing to do for your ancestors. I have a strong feeling it's helping them in some way. Maybe preventing them from having to come back into the world and go through a bunch of karmic lessons. It's like you're getting to cleanse that for them. And at the very least, you're getting to spare, if you're going to have children, you're sparing them of, you're not passing all this stuff on. But anyway, you might get little clues, little synchronicities sometimes. Whenever I'm going through this, there'll oftentimes be little clues. Little, like, for example, I saw the other day, I don't know where, it didn't make sense. I saw this little thing that said Sick Boy. It was like a brand or something, Sick Boy. And it was right on that same day I was crying from my son Luke. And I thought, I didn't think much of it, but then my grandpa's been in my dreams every night, which is very unusual. And I just kind of put it all together that's what all this is about. That's what's coming up. And just sort of like knowing it sometimes can give you a lot of peace of mind as well. But just for what it's worth, it's going around. It happens sometimes. And I just think it's a really good thing to do. I don't think you can fight it necessarily if you wanted to, but I feel like there's a reason people are going through it. I think it's beneficial to the collective big time. And I guarantee when you cross over, your ancestors will be there like thanking you. I just have that feeling. So take that for what it's worth, my friend. You all have an amazing day, a fantastic week, and I'll see you soon. Much love.